Thanks a lot, team, and thanks everybody for joining and listening. So next slide, please, is with my disclaimer. We can go to the next. So what radiopharmaceutical imaging and therapy are is a starting point for, sharing this conversation. So it's a very interesting and innovative area. You need to have a selected and targeted molecule able to go where the cancer cells are. And when the molecule goes there, it has two opportunities. The first opportunity is to release a low energy isotope. And this is an imaging isotope. So the objective is a better way to detect and follow up the development of cancer cells. Today, you can use biopsy, you can use MRI. Both are either invasive or they have limitations. So radiopharmaceutical imaging really represents an opportunity, like a very powerful torch, to see if there are small metastases around the body of the patient so that the physician can take the right decision to improve patient outcome. The other approach, with the same exact molecule, you can link it with a powerful, more powerful isotope. In this case, it's called therapeutic isotope because the molecule is able to go to the cancer cell at that time to release the therapeutic isotope. And the isotope has enough energy to kill the cancer cell while leaving the surrounding tissues almost untouched. So it's a very interesting approach to oncology. And if we go to the next slide, we can see that there is already proof of concept. In prostate cancer, in the last 2 years, there has been, I would say, very positive results. Imaging, we have 2 agents from Lantheus and from Telix that are FDA approved. So they are launched in US. As you can see, the performance, the quarterly sales are going extremely strong, potentially already above 800 million per year in sales. So very close to the initial analyst consensus of $1 billion. So imaging is going to be a very important and successful commercial area for those agents. The second approach is therapeutic. And in therapeutic, Novartis was the company that first launched a therapeutic radiopharmaceutical in prostate cancer. I had the opportunity to work on that product because I was in Novartis for almost 20 years before joining Radiopharm Theranostics in my current job. So very pleased to see that Pluvicto, the products, is doing extremely well. So also from a therapeutic, there are opportunities to get to very high level of the analyst consensus. And these results are just in prostate cancer, but there is no scientific reason why radiopharmaceutical imaging and therapy should not work in many of the other solid tumors. So high potential in this new segment of oncology. Next, please. This is Radiopharm Theranostics. This is our pipeline. We do have 2 imaging agents and 5 therapeutic agents. As we are a small company and we want to be sure that we allocate our resources properly, we decide to have clear priorities. And you can see in the next slide what are our top 3 priorities. 2 imaging and 1 therapeutic. For the 2 imaging, the first one is an imaging agent for brain metastasis. We reported positive phase 2 data last year in October. The second priority is an imaging agent in pancreatic cancer. And we received the last week of December FDA IND approval to start our phase 1 in the US. And our third priority is our first therapeutic molecule, is a nanobody targeting non-small cell lung cancer that are expressing PD-L1. And we plan to start this trial in Australia in the next few months between April and May. Next, please. So let me share a little bit more about each of the three priorities. This is our imaging agent called Pivotalate for brain metastasis. We reported statistically significant positive phase 2A data. And what does it mean? What does it mean that is now with Pivotalate is much easier to see the development of brain metastasis compared to current technology. So the opportunity is for the oncologist to better understand if the patient is responding to treatment and what are the next options that the patient are. So we receive very positive clinical feedback from advisory board and multiple interaction with medical experts. And so in the next slide, you see our approach to the next step. We are in conversation with FDA. We would like to submit our proposal of protocol in a month from now, and we expect the first pre-IND response at the end of April. Our approach will be to ask FDA to go directly to phase 3 pivotal trial because it's an area of high unmet medical need. And our products, as has been shown in phase 1 and in phase 2, to be extremely safe. So we are excited about the possibility to be by mid-2023 in the condition to start a phase 3 imaging trial. This will be, of course, we say transformative for our company. Next, please. The second priority is an imaging agent for pancreatic cancer. As you probably know, pancreatic cancer is a very tough disease. There has been very limited innovation from a therapeutic point of view in the last 15 years. Is almost only surgery and chemotherapy available for those patients that when they become metastatic, they have like 9 to 12 months overall survival. So it is extremely important when we speak with physicians and with oncologists to detect this disease as early as possible. And this is what we hope to do with our molecule called Trivaexin that is targeting integrin alpha beta beta 6. Next, please. We already have some clinical data from compassionate use, and also we perform an investigator-initiated trial where our products was tested. And without entering the details of the images below, I can share that the images with Trivaexin are way superior to the current approach that is called FTG. So the patient can be detected earlier, not only the primary tumor, pancreatic cancer, but also the metastasis associated with pancreatic cancer can be detected sooner. So based on these results, next slide, we decided to go to FDA. As I mentioned, we received FDA IND approval to start our phase 1, and we want to conduct this trial as fast as possible. We believe recruitment will be short. We can start around April or May this year because we are finalizing the logistic of, there is transportation of isotope from the radiopharmacy to the clinical center. But if we start in May, we believe that we can conclude enrollment in about 3 months and report the phase 1 data within the calendar year 2023. So very excited about this program. Next, please. Our third and last priority for 2023 is our first therapeutic trial. We are talking about non-small cell lung cancer, an area where there are good therapies available like the checkpoint inhibitor, but the challenge that still a small portion of patients respond to those therapy. So we believe there is an important space, and radiopharmaceutical therapies are really a strong innovation in this field. Next. What we like to do is to start a phase 1 trial here in Australia. We plan to submit ethics committee request around April, so in 2-3 months from now, and to start here in Australia with the first patient, first visit around May 2023. We have already identified a clinical center. We already have a CRO that is Genesis Care. So we are well positioned to start with the proper speed the clinical enrollment for this trial. We also have a partnership for this molecule with Lantheus. The partnership is on the imaging agent. So Lantheus is developing the imaging agent, and we are developing the therapeutic with a collaboration where we can share results. Next. So, as I mentioned before, 3 priorities that potentially represent an important inflection point for the company. 2, phase 1 to be started. A potential phase 3 will be a significant advancement for our company. We do also have a lot of news planned to come and to inform our shareholders in the second part of the year. But the first inflection point between May and July this year for us is very critical. So with this, I really like to thank you for your attention, and back to you, Tim.
Thanks, Riccardo. We've got quite a few questions coming in here. Can we just go back to the beginning? You've kind of got a portfolio approach, if you like, for your imaging and therapy, and you've spoken about you prioritizing certain therapies and imaging. How do you manage that process? Is that driven by your data? Is it driven by unmet needs? Is it driven by funding?
It is all of this, I would say. First of all, some program where when we license some program, they were with more advanced preclinical development data, so it is easier to bring to clinical trial, to phase 1. This is one of the reasons some program are ahead of others. The second is a decision about proper use of resources and also team capacity. So we want to be sure that we do right and we invest right in the first 3 priority assets before investing important amount in the rest of the pipeline.
And you also, you're based in the US, and although you're in Sydney right now, but you've touched on a NASDAQ, secondary NASDAQ listing. Is this industry better understood in the US, and does this give you better access to offshore funding?
Last week, we announced our submission to the SEC, the request to be co-listed on the NASDAQ. So we will continue to be listed in Australia in the ASX. This is a top priority market for us. At the same time, we do believe that having access to biotech-specific funds in US is also important. Many times speaking with them, they told us that they don't have the mandate to invest abroad, or they don't like their traders to wake up in the night to check how the stocks are going. So they tell us always, come back when you are co-listed and we can discuss more. So we believe this will give us more access to potential funds at the time of the next capital raise. We do not plan to raise capital with the listing in US. Will be just a listing without capital raise.
Understood. And can you talk about the Australian process for your therapeutic to achieve phase 1 approval by the ethical committee for April this year? Then I think you plan to have a really quick turnaround in regards to the patient phase, the first patient phase. Can you talk through how that can happen so quickly?
Yes, we need to finalize the last step, that is the conclusion of a biodistribution study. When we have this data, we can include in the full package that is required by the ethics committee to assess the possibility to go to phase 1. So we plan to deliver the request in April. Usually the ethics committee takes about 30 days to come back with an answer. And we are in parallel, because we are positive about the outcome. We are preparing for the trial. So we will have the first patient in the first part of the year. Something that is very interesting in radiopharmaceutical, that is usually enrollment is pretty fast, and trials are going as well with good speed. We believe that a phase 1 dose escalating trial will not take more than 12 months from the beginning of the end. That is a very positive, I say, time frame.
And just finally, you touched on some partnerships. Maybe we can talk to, are there any partnership agreements lined up for 2023?
Well, of course, we can disclose only the partnership that are already official. So we do have a partnership with Lantheus, that is imaging leader, is listed in the NASDAQ around 4 billion market cap. And we receive a number of requests from companies because the sector, the radiopharmaceutical sector, as I mentioned before, is extremely hot. There are a number of deals happening almost every month because this is seems to be a potential new pillar in oncology beyond the more traditional approach that are chemotherapy, immune oncology, targeted therapy, and cell and gene therapy.